I was in last place going into my last run and just like almost cracked. But I remember like right before dropping in, I just kind of sent a little prayer out of like, do this for everyone who helped me get here. Like I couldn't have done it alone. Got so much family, so many partners that believe in me. And just that little bit of like giving it to something greater than myself, like calmed me, and I dropped in and it just, everything came together. It was really sick. It was probably one of the highlights of my career because there's always a lot of pressure, but the Olympics are a whole different ballpark.
Unleashed with the Dingo and Danny, fueled by Monster Energy.
Wow, Dingo, can you believe it?
Jamie?
I mean, we have one of the greatest snowboarders alive in here today.
Of all time.
Of all time.
Of all time. We've only been, how long have we had this show? Like 2 years?
2 years,
We've
yeah.
only been trying to get you for
Is
2
it
years.
2 years
2
already?
years.
Yeah.
How many times have I
Gosh.
called or texted you?
I mean, I really wanted to be here. I'm just not really in LA too much.
Right.
SoCal.
I
That's
know.
true.
And I get stuck in the mountains.
Dingo's the real LA guy.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I'm so happy to finally be here. Sorry
We're
for
happy
the
you're
delay.
here. Luna's here too, so if you hear a
Luna's
dog
out.
bark. Brittany Palmer's here as always.
Hello.
How are you, Brittany?
Hi, good. How are
Brittany,
you?
Jamie, Brittany.
I know. I'm
Now you guys are best friends.
yes.
Just like that.
Brittany's a snowboarder.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I mean, yeah. I'm not going to be, I can snowboard. How about that? Instead of a snowboarder, I can.
She can snowboard.
Do
Danny's
it.
a snowboarder.
I'm a snowboarder. You know, a lot of people think like you have a great snowboarder on and it's like you're only going to talk great snowboarding. But truthfully, the thing to be the best snowboarder around is just how much fun you can have on the
That's
hill.
true.
And around it,
Truth.
you know?
Facts.
So Jamie was born. We've known Jamie since she was, I was trying to figure it out today. I think you were like 12 or 13. I'm 36.
I remember it though because she knocked on the RV door when we were in.
Big Bear.
No, I think it was Tahoe. Which,
Maybe like
Sierra.
Oh, it was Tahoe.
Sierra
Or before
or
Tutu
North
or,
Star.
like,
It was
Vans
North
Cup or
Star.
something.
Yep, North Star. And Kevin Casilla was like, "Hey guys, there's this really cool snowboarder. She's really good." And I'm like, well, "That's cool. She's really good, but she's not old enough to get on her RV, so she can just kind of hang out the door."
I think I remember hanging out outside the camper.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
"She can't
I
come
like
in."
Sure,
Kevin.
Like you
Camper.
guys didn't want it to look bad.
Yeah,
Little
So-
12-year-old jam showing up.
We used to have what was called the grenade RV. It's actually tattooed on my leg.
yeah, that's the one too.
Jesus
let me
Christ.
see.
Dingo has the tightest pants in the world, so it's hard to get to him. There
So
it
that
is.
was
That's where we met Jamie, right there.
You guys
there.
should, you
the
should
side
add a
door
little,
Right
right here.
add a little Jamie on the side.
So we used to move around. That's how we used to get around town, Brittany, in the grenade RV. 93,
Nice.
94 Winnebago,
Nice.
picking up teenagers.
No, letting them linger out front, apparently.
Well,
Oh,
we
no.
carded here and there. We did card.
we knew Jamie was going to be born and bred, born in South Lake Tahoe. But look at this: 2-time Olympic gold medalist, 21 X Games medals. I'm just going to stop there. How many?
Why do you?
Yes, Dingo. I have 2 Olympic medals also.
They're not gold though.
They are not gold. No,
They're the first. They're the second gold.
they are silver medals.
At the Olympics, so I think any
Yeah.
medal is kind of a gold. I think
Any
if you hit
medal
the
is
yes.
a win.
if you hit the podium at the Olympics, it's like doesn't matter. You're all good. 21 X Games medals, though.
That's impressive.
That's a lot of work.
That's a lot of work.
years.
That's a lot of
I think
events.
15, 16 years.
16
of
years.
X
And
Games.
are those all slopestyle and big air?
Yeah, honestly, if they had a women's big air category, it could have been up in the mix, but they only just added big air a handful of years
Oh,
ago.
wow.
So
Mark's not
I
going to
think
like
that's
hearing
why
that.
Mark and I are pretty tied.
Ouch. So
Oh,
you guys
really?
are tied.
I'm just teasing, but yeah. So, yeah, just recently I've gotten a couple of big air medals
Okay.
in the last few years.
I remember when I think you learned it was either frontside 7 or cab 7. What were you doing back in the day more of?
I really liked Cab 7. I remember, I think it was at an X Games
Right.
one that maybe the first one I won gold. I did a Cab 7 and like first tee on the money booter, which felt really good.
Do you think that, because obviously you grew up, you got a huge family, but you grew up, snowboarding with your sisters and whatnot. But like at a young age, I think you started snowboarding with older guys and people that were pushing that level. And yeah, I think when you won that X Games, it was like a cab 7 or whatnot. And then now to look at what you have to do to be on the podium, you've kind of gone through that transition of, it was not easy to get there, but now it's like you push the envelope. And I feel like a lot of other females didn't really push the envelope as much. I don't think anyone else as a female snowboarder has pushed it more than you have, of growing the sport and looking at what you're able to do now, because now you do doubles and it looks like you're doing a cab 7, but you're theoretic, it's a lot more harder, right?
Thank you. Yeah, honestly, if we bring it back a few more years, the first medal I got in 2006, I was 15. I actually got a bronze medal with a frontside 180 on the money booter.
Wow.
And it was like
Big
a stalled out like indie poke and then like set it down switch. And like to flash back to that, to what the girls are doing now, it's just mind blowing. I like honestly sometimes have to just slow down and reflect and think how dope the women are. Like I myself used to think there's no fucking way I'll ever do double corks. That's what I said. It's like, that's just too dangerous, too crazy. And it's so crazy how our mind works, because as soon as I saw a different chick do like a double backflip, which I wasn't really down with that, it opened that gateway of like maybe a cab double 9 or maybe a front double 10. And just having that belief kind of plant the seed, it opened up that whole path of progression. And now the girls are doing triple corks. Like,
yeah, that's weird.
I don't know. It's really weird.
Who's the girl that does the triple cork?
Kind of a lot.
Oh, there's more than
I think
one?
Gasser's been a big push on that.
Anna does this. Does she do a switch
Cab
triple?
Cab
triple back to regular.
That's fucked.
I think Kokomo's got the triple. Maybe Layla, Lori. It's weird because it'll be like one girl and then it just like takes off. And everyone kind of sees that it's possible or that they're capable, and it goes.
Has the Olympics changed a lot of that? Because when was your first Olympic gold? Was 2014. That was the first time snowboarding had slopestyle in the Olympics?
Yeah, my first Olympics was 14, but I slightly made a run for it in 2010. I did well at a half pipe event in New Zealand and caught a little bit of attention with the team, and they started to kind of support me. And I tried to go for Vancouver, but I blew it. I fell at all the qualifiers.
You tried to go for half pipe?
Yeah.
Did you know that?
She tries to go every year. She always hits me up and she's like, hey, Danny,
I love
like,
pipe.
wouldn't it be cool if I just like got in the pipe this year? And I'm like, yeah.
He's like, you need to train, like, or you need to go shred pipe. You can't just, my problem is I don't want to ride pipe, but I have faith that I can go and like lace a pretty sick run, but like I just never do it. So definitely hit up Dan a few times.
We're not crossing it off the list, that's for sure.
Not over till it's over.
I know a coach.
Yeah.
Pretty good coach. He's good at
Can I join the rookie team?
He's good at getting silver medals.
Oh,
Yeah, I know.
any medal is a medal.
Any medal is
That's
a
right.
medal.
Any medal is a medal.
I mean, even going to the damn Olympics is an achievement. And, I felt so fortunate to, 2010 didn't work out. And then I just decided, screw it, screw the Olympics. I don't care. I just want to snowboard. I want to do X Games, ride POW, and just do what I love, which was riding park. And then a few years later, I had kind of stopped riding pipe at that point and decided to put all my focus into park and free riding, and escalated and got a lot better. And then at that point, like the door opened for the Olympics. They added slopestyle to the 14 Sochi Games, and I went there as a favorite to win and definitely had like heaps of pressure.
Let's talk about that. Going in as the person to win, I feel like is more pressure than anybody else there.
100%. And I kind of blew it. We had a 2-run final, and the course in Sochi was pretty technical and conditions were not like super ideal. And I just fell. I fell on my first run on the last jump, like everything lined up perfect. And then front seven just like washed out. And I was like, okay, no worries. Like I got it. But then that anticipation and knowing that if I landed my run, I would win. I knew it would be life-changing and my whole family was there. But the pressure was just like eating me alive for that like hour waiting for everyone else to run. Then I was in like, fifth and then sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth. I was in last place going into my last run and just like almost cracked. But I remember like right before dropping in, I just kind of sent a little prayer out of like, do this for everyone who helped me get here. Like I couldn't have done it alone. Got so much family, so many partners that believe in me. And just that little bit of like, giving it to something greater than myself, like calmed me and I dropped in and it just, everything came together. It was really sick. It was probably one of the highlights of my career because there's always a lot of pressure, but the Olympics are a whole different ballpark. Only every few years, just the stage is magnified. It's not nearly as cool as X Games or any of like the core snowboarding events, but it is like an honor to be there. But yeah, I remember when I landed, I just like dropped to my knees in gratitude. I was tripping and I kind of knew I was going to win, but you never know. And I didn't really care at that point. I was just so happy I landed the run I wanted to do. And yeah, then I ended up getting gold and set sail on celebration train for the last couple years.
What a turn of events, though, like to have everything just... But really, it just goes to show, like, I mean, you're naturally pretty zen of a person. So, like, had you practiced that meditation kind of, that thought process prior to the Olympics? Or, like, were you always pretty zen to give it to something greater? Or was that kind of the rush at that moment, like, hey, give it to God at this point?
Yeah, like that. I mean, I grew up in a pretty, like, down-to-earth and, like, spiritual family, not anything, like, religious, but... I always had a little bit of that. I had a bad accident when I was young that kind of pushed me into like yoga and being grateful for my health and all of that. But yeah, I think that came, honestly, someone who really made a difference that day was Ryan McDermott. And at this point, I wasn't on the U.S. team. I kind of couldn't deal with the politics of it. And it was just, they didn't support me before. So when I went to that Olympics, I was only on the team for a 2-week period. So I didn't actually have any coaching support. I was kind of just doing my thing. I didn't really believe in, I think coaches are great and I know Dan's great and some are, but at that time I was like, I fucking got it. I'm just going to like cruise. I don't want too much stress. But Ryan, my wax tech, was working for the Canadian team. And I remember him coming over to me and he could see my like pressure. Like I ended up getting alopecia. I had like a bald spot on my head. Like the stress was deep, even though I was trying to cover it up with like, oh, I'm so grateful. Like that shit runs to the core. But he was just like giving me grace and put some music in my ears. He's like, kid, you got this. Like, don't worry. And like, I tell him this all the time, but he's been like such a great friend. I met him when I was 13, when I was competing in border cross at X Games.
Wow.
Before slope, but he was an asset and just the power of letting go and going with the flow. And sometimes things work out, sometimes they don't.
Do you know what's crazy though? Like snowboarding and coaching really wasn't a thing until the Olympics. When like, I mean, you've had a coach most of your life, right?
No.
What about Phoebe?
I mean, I did when I was like in
Like on
high school.
Yeah, like
on,
I had a coach
team,
as a kid too.
But similar to like Jamie, I mean, I basically, I think we had a little bit more support at that time through like team managers and things where it was like we had people in a support system around us. And now that a few of those like international traveling teams, aren't there, they are more important. But I like what you said, because truthfully, I've heard that multiple times from athletes who actually do well in the Olympics, where it's like, it's the wax tech who actually says the final words. And they actually are
wax
like...
tech's a big deal.
No, like
I didn't realize how important the wax tech is at the top of the pot. Shout out to all wax techs.
No, seriously.
Mono Sarah, shout out.
Seriously.
See your local wax tech.
Because I was
Dylan.
coaching crawl, this season of the Olympics. I ended up getting COVID and not going.
Shit.
And Kenny was her wax tech. So I give him this huge talk. I'm like, give me a call. If this happens, I want you to say this. If this happens, say this. And he's like, no, I'm just going to go, you got this, kid. And like literally it plays such a big difference because I felt like I might have actually put a little too much like, she might have felt my stress or something if I was there. And I think it was the wax tech that really helped clinch the deal.
That's crazy, though, that in that point, you didn't have much support from the people you should have had support from. That's also, I'm sure that changed as soon as you won the Olympics. I'm sure they changed their tone a little bit, but fuck them. They weren't there before you dropped in.
That was the thing. Like, you know, my sister competed in border cross. They never really supported her. I won a pipe event when I was 17, beat Kelly Clark and some of the top U.S. athletes. That's when they finally approached me and put me on the rookie team, which was nice, but there's no financial support. And that's when I needed some freaking financial support.
Yeah.
17, I barely had sponsors. I think Grenade was one of my sponsors.
Yeah, we paid big bucks.
Sponsor.
We paid big bucks back in the day.
I got paid with like really sick stickers and mittens and maybe a couple beers here and there. But you know, that was when I needed it. And I was like, God,
the beers
damn.
was with all the money.
But you know, everyone, so I learned a lot and I had to hold my integrity and like choose not to be on the team when they came back around. Because after they put me on the rookie team, I was kind of like, you know what? Like, I don't even like pipe. Like, I didn't go to the training camps. Then I think it was Bud Keene, who was the rookie coach at that time. He called me up. He's like, yeah, you know, doesn't really seem like it's working out for you. Like, we're going to let you go. And I was like,
You got fired from
She
the
got
rookie
fired,
team?
yeah.
So at this point,
You're
I
like,
was
that's
like,
all right. I'm going pro.
Literally, screw the Olympics, screw this team shit. Like, I just want to party and snowboard, and that's what I'm going to do. And I fucking set sail in the park and had a lot of fun. And yeah, had quite a bit of success. And then they did come around, and they have been supportive now. My insurance ended when I was 26, so I knew I needed the team support. And at that point, they've evolved too. You know, everything's evolving. Like now they have Danny on the program.
Yeah, they're really evolving.
We have two great coaches.
Evolving, devolving. All right. What was it like though to go from, you know, a teenager and obviously, you know, not that you're shy, but you know, Tahoe is that kind of little bit bubble to then becoming America's princess.
Sweetheart?
I was going to say sweetheart.
Sweetheart. I can't say it like you.
Oh
so.
gosh. It was really crazy. Like I think I went to the Olympics with like less than 10,000 followers. And that was like the beginning of Instagram, I think. And I didn't really care or pay much attention, but like overnight 100,000 followers and then just like grew really quickly. And I was just getting so much love from like middle America, like people that don't even know about snowboarding. And still to this day, like getting letters from people that like genuinely admire my athleticism, whether they know or don't know about snowboarding. And that part was really, really cool. And like getting to go on all the TV shows and meet like, I don't even know all the people in New York, you know, Jimmy Kimmel. And I got to go on the Ellen show and the Tonight Show and the Today Show and all that stuff. And I don't really watch news, so I didn't really know who everyone was, but definitely had a good publicist who organized all of that. And it was exhausting, but it was really fun. Gave me a little bit more like realize what a privilege it is to one, have like grown up in a big family. We didn't really have a lot of money and kind of just trusted my passion that like I love snowboarding. I had no idea where it would take me, but it's taken me for one hell of a ride.
A roller coaster of fun and excitement. Is there anyone that was like, because I'm sure people get starstruck to meet you, right? Like I've seen it around. My own girlfriend was so excited to meet you as like one of her heroes.
I love Anya.
But what about you? Like who were you like most starstruck to meet through that first cycle?
To be honest, like I didn't really care about the stars. Like I was like pretty excited. Everyone's like made a big deal of Fallon, like Jimmy Fallon. I couldn't even think about what he looked like without a picture. Like that's how just like in my own little mountain world I live. Like I just had no fucking idea. And I remember doing hair and makeup and he like came in and was like, hey, like I'm Jimmy. And then I, of course, recognized him a little bit, but he was like genuine, nice. And like that skit was hilarious. They're just like talking shit on the Olympics and how terrible the water quality was in Sochi. And like, it was actually pretty funny. And now I like see why he is a pretty big deal.
He's actually funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't.
Russia was sketchy though, right? Like at that. I mean, now I don't even think there'll ever be another sporting event in Russia. So good to tick that off your list.
Yeah, and like not maybe my Olympics were pretty like not that great. We had Russia, Korea, and fucking China. Might have to make another run for Italy.
Well, I was thinking that maybe you could
wine.
like the next step of the Korea could be pipe.
Possibly.
Yeah,
There's only a few. I think you got that.
I was watching a couple clips of pipe riding, and I kind of got fired up the last few days.
really. Let's talk more because
couple Sauce Bay clips of Maddie. I was like, all right, I think I could go that big. I think I could maybe toss a double cork. But this is the thing. I get all hyped, but like actions speak louder than words. So I'm not going to talk too much about it.
Brittany could be your pipe coach.
Yeah, that would be
I'll be
sick.
your little cheerleader down there.
Yeah.
Like, you got this, girl.
I'm gonna be the wax tech, and that way I can be like, "Here's, you got this."
Take all
Got
the
it.
cake. Oh,
I'm the crazy friend at the bottom of the pipe feeding you booze.
Everybody needs a good drink after a stressful contest. I'll say that for sure.
How was all right? So the Sochi kind of happens. You've been a part of the industry most of your life, but then this kind of superstardom thing happens. How did you go navigating that? There must have been a crazy high, and there must have been some sort of crash at some point mentally, having to deal with. All right, you got up and you used to snowboard every day, and that's what you did. And then all of a sudden, people are pulling you all these different directions to do all this shit that I'm sure you're like, I just want to snowboard.
100%. I would say probably from like 14 to 18 was like the hardest time of my career, because after that Olympics, it opened the door to so many new riders that now like had so much support because of the Olympics, and all the national federations were pouring money into their teams. So I felt like I was getting all these like media and new job opportunities. I was on The Apprentice with frickin' Trump. I was on Dancing with the Stars, and I was like doing so many other things in those years between that I didn't really get to snowboard, and I wasn't really doing yoga or doing all the things that like help me stay like mentally and physically like grounded. And I remember going into Korea as like the whatever, like last winter, whatever they say, like, and I remember losing it. I was like, fuck, like, how am I going to pull this together? I haven't been snowboarding. At that point, I had every like US team and like American partner. I was working with like 7 big brands and doing commercials and shoots leading up to the games. And I knew like all these other girls like were coming up. Zoe Sadowski, Anna Gasser, even like Haley Langland, and everyone was getting so good. And I felt like I didn't even have time to train. So going into that games, I was just like,
That's going into
Korea, into South Korea in 2018. And that was kind of like, I felt like I kind of Hail Married it. And the weather ended up being a complete nightmare. And they ran us in like the most horrid conditions. And they canceled the qualifier the day before. So there's like 35 women in a tiny heating hut. And everyone's kind of stressing about
like it was
the wind.
freezing, right?
So cold. And so much energy, and no one was communicating. Usually you have 10 women, the top women in a final, but because they carried everyone into the final, it was just so much energy. So I remember kind of disconnecting from it, because I know FIS, the IOC, the Olympics, it's such bullshit. And it's not always like for the riders. So I kind of knew that they were going to do whatever the hell they wanted to do regardless. So I kind of like protected my little bubble. And I remember being outside and like taking hot laps and watching the wind and the weather, and it was terrible. And eventually they said they're going to do one practice run and then make a call. I did a practice run and just like, it was terrible. I overshot, then I knuckled, then like I got back up to the top, like so stressed, almost crying. they started the final. They didn't even have a meeting. They didn't say, how do you guys feel? They fucking ran our final. And I dropped towards the end of the field and I watched probably 25 or 30 women eat shit right in front of me. And meanwhile, I'm just like, oh my God, this is happening.
And at that point, you're watching, because you got 35, you got people from different countries. You're watching people that typically you're not used to watching either, because you're not watching your top 10 that usually sit next games. You've got your eye on those types, but then you've got all these other girls from different countries that have made qualifying and made points to be there, but necessarily shouldn't be in the finals at an Olympics. So watching that's almost probably a
psychologically
for sure
stressful, and for like the viewer, like. It was a terrible show with or without the 30 women. Like, it just was really bad. So I did end up like pulling it together. I dropped in. I landed my first run through the grace of God, but it was not pretty. It wasn't anything I was like really proud of, but it did feel good to like put something down. I remember I was going to do a cab double 9 and I had to open up in the middle and kind of just like somehow get to my feet, and then did like a pretty sloppy front 7 on the last jump. And this is 4 years later. Like, I had way better runs to do, but it was like worse than what I did in Sochi.
And in Sochi, the jumps were huge, right?
They were huge. South Korea was like manicured and beautiful, but it was pretty sketch.
Yeah,
like,
small and just like bad conditions. Where in Sochi, they got there and even the guys were like, the jumps are a little too big.
That's crazy. I mean, just the dangerousness of that. Like, do you expect it to be smaller? It's bigger and there's nothing you can do? Is that really how, like, can you cut that in half? Like, that's
the crazy thing
the danger of that. If you're not prepared for something like that, that's what's scary, right?
Snow can change so much.
Or the wind comes and then you don't have the speed that you need.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of girls in that Korean final got hurt. Like, they canceled alpine skiing. And then they ran slopestyle. Like,
alpine skiing, you don't need to leave the ground. That's where you go through the gates.
Yeah.
Well, I think what a lot of people don't realize is like you make your whole career to like this one day where they build up the Olympics, and you could have the best qualifiers, conditions, weather, and you can go to the Olympics and have one of the worst courses, half pipe, slopestyle, whatever it is that you've ridden in years. But it doesn't matter. It just becomes that one day, and that's where, you know, it's interesting to hear like that run of yours, because that's when you got to be strategic. You got to dial it back. Mm-hmm. You got to just put something down to get counted in a way, right?
I feel like what was the best Olympics, best conditions? Which one? Because so far all these sound like disasters. Like,
well, don't ask her about the last one.
Probably this last one, but then I fucking blew it. But that Korea one, just to like wrap it up, like that sucked. And then like to make it like so much worse was like the media and my own peers and athletes like tore me down.
Why?
And made me feel like because I didn't stand up and say to FIS or IOC, like I had some power, you know? And I was
to do what though?
I guess to tell them exactly what I thought. And it was true. Like, us as a whole, we didn't come together. And I did kind of just like try to stay out of the drama, because it was literally 35 women in a warming hut. It felt so like hostile in there, and you could feel everyone's nerves. What are they going to do? The event organizers suck anyhow. Like, I've spent energy getting mad at them, and then it just like distracting me from what's in front of me.
Yeah, it's not your job to
the
corral.
media were like, you don't deserve to win. Like, that was a terrible. I remember leaving that contest like in tears, and I had this gold medal, but I was like, it felt like it had no depth.
Wow.
So then it like fired me up for big air, and I'd never won a podium in big air, and I couldn't even do like front 10 really. It was like maybe 1 in 10 I'd land. And that next week, after all the hate and drama and people talking shit, I was like, fuck them. Like, I got this. Whether it was good weather or not, I was going to put down the best run I could. Like, sometimes conditions happen and you have to be like a warrior. It's not just like perfect conditions, zen. Like, we're winter athletes.
Look at surfers.
100%. And
whatever the waves are that day, you got to fucking perform on it because that's all you got.
Well, I don't know about that. Don't they get like a 2-week window to pick their day?
Because sometimes there's no surf.
But sometimes it is really bad.
I'm just saying, we don't get like a 2-week window.
They're like
similar to the conditions
today. But honestly,
I agree with you. The waves aren't there. The waves aren't
If there's
there.
no waves, they'd be on a paddleboard. Like, all right, guys.
But Yeah,
But this
agreed.
last Olympics, back to your question, was so sick. Okay, China wasn't that great in the middle of
The course
COVID
looked
season,
sick.
but the course was really dope. It was a lot of man-made snow, but the conditions, it was freezing cold in the beginning, but the day of the final, it was actually like prime. Like
Yeah.
it was the day to like send it and
Yeah.
like have redemption. And unfortunately, I didn't have a good day and I fell in my runs. But even though that was really like hard on everything, I had so much appreciation for the girls who slayed it. Like Zoe at the very end,
Yep.
fucking game changing run. And like, I don't know, and the camaraderie of the girls and like seeing my friend Julia like lace a run and get a silver, and Tess Cody landed and like got her first medal for Australia. Like there's so many highs and good moments that it helped me like dissipate my own like frustration and like
Well, and you'd
pity.
been there twice
And I'd
before,
done it,
right?
you
At the top,
know?
at the top, which I thought was really cool, and I thought the camaraderie to the younger girls. You could also see within Zoe and Tess and those girls how much they appreciate and love you. Of just on television, just from watching it, you could see they were all cheering for each other. And I think in a lot of other sports or disciplines or eras, like you were saying in Korea, it was not like that. Everyone's like, fuck you, hating on you, where this was completely the opposite. The thing I noticed was it wasn't in your slopestyle, it was big air. And I think that the judging needs to be changed for big air, or the way the criteria, the way they do it, because you actually put down the last jump you did, you put down one of the highest scores, but unfortunately you didn't put down too high scores like that. And I think that that's bullshit. I think that
I agree.
wish,
I think it
but
should
no.
be 2 out of
I should've
4.
landed.
But the
I
2 out of
should've
3
landed
thing.
a front,
2 out of 3
whatever the
stupid.
hell I
3
was gonna
stupid.
do.
What is this?
because
It- well,
the
it's
reason
hard.
Rock,
why
paper, scissor, backside
I
double
know.
10? Like,
the
what
reason
is
why
this?
what you landed should have put you on the
I
podium no matter what.
know.
Yeah.
And you almost did make the podium
I've-
with the forward
Or like
run.
I almost
I know,
made the final.
but back in the day,
I was pissed.
Big Air
it just
was-
wasn't my year in China. God damn it! But yeah, that was hard in Big Air. I wanted to do a cab 9, which is my easier trick, which I fell on. Then I ended up lacing the front 10. I was like, what in the
Yeah.
world? Like, okay, I guess that's how she's gonna roll this time. But gosh, my heart, I was so crushed. I was so frustrated. But sometimes things happen and you have to just learn how to deal with it instead of like, it's easy to be happy and content when things go your way, but it like really challenges you as a human
Yeah.
and your humility when like things don't go your way. And can you still have grace? Can
Yeah.
you still let go and still keep your head up? And like that was kind of my teaching, I think, this year. Then I kind of was in my slump for a bit, and then I got my ass up to Alaska and had like the time of my life and like relit that fire for like snowboarding. Like
Did
screw
you
the
do natural
Olympics.
selection up there?
No,
You missed that.
because I had to choose too. I had to choose between going to natural selection and supporting that or going to the Olympics. And truthfully, I wanted to go to Natty Select. I wanted that way more. But I had so much contractual obligations for the Olympics that like logically I just couldn't.
Well, it is what it is, and it's unfortunate that both ran on the same time. But having to pick, I think somebody in your position, I think there are a few other people that are in your position as well. And I think that if you've been previously to Olympics, like I think Stolle was there as well, and Stolle had been on a podium before, and I think your guys' obligation is to go back and fulfill.
You kind of have to.
And
I had just got the silvers at X. Like I was in the mix. I wasn't like washed out at this point. Like
You're not washed out now either.
And I'm still not. This is only
I mean,
last
didn't you
season.
win the Locks Open?
I won like
this
the
year?
first qualifier with like Zoe and all the same girls. Zoe got second in Mammoth, which was a crazy one in its own. But like I did good in
You're
Mammoth.
telling me that was a crazy weekend.
Dingo was there for that one.
That was a fucking ride. But see, like the mental strength, like I know I've got some power. It's
I
just
said to
a matter
him,
of
I said
tapping into it.
I said to Danny, maybe she likes being, maybe that's what she needs. It's like a bit of tears,
Yeah.
bit of fucking drama, and boom, she's on top.
Literally, a little like light that fire and definitely.
Because you slayed that course. That
It was
day
really
you went
fun.
ham.
And I almost dropped out. It was like it just felt like, sometimes things just don't work out. And
Yep.
sometimes it fucking rains and pours. And then you're so pissed and caught up in like all the negativity that it just keeps happening. And it's hard to break those cycles. But I think it happens for us. Like if things were just always like good and all rainbows and butterflies, like we wouldn't grow and learn and evolve. So I was hyped. I won that event and then I went to X Games. I got double silver to Zoe. So I was really fired up. I'm like, I got this. Like I'm going to slay it in China. But unfortunately didn't. But even Zoe, she's so cool and like so talented. And I'm so grateful that like the next generation, I think she's like 10 years or more younger, it's in good hands. Like she's like a core snowboarder who has like, of course, some of like the more new age training facilities, but she's still a snowboarder.
Yeah.
And that like I'm proud of because a lot of snowboarding has gotten way too gymnastics and way too twirly bird. Like I don't even barely like to watch the big air men's events.
Yeah.
You know?
At what point do you think that it'll reach will that stop? Like at some point that has to stop. Like even watching Renee and those guys spin, like they can do it. I don't think they enjoy doing it, but they can do it. But when you're spinning a 2180 or what did Renee spun a 21?
Maybe even a 21. I can't tell you. 2160.
I don't even know the name of it.
I need a calculator.
He spun that at X Games at the beginning of Big Air this year and didn't even podium.
It's unbelievable. I think it's up to honestly the event organizers and like the people that are like putting out the money at these events. Like we saw Peace Park this year that was like super unique, creative courses. And I would love to see even X Games do something like that, like change the dynamic and like the constitution of the event.
You're going to have
having 3 big jumps and people doing triple, it's like, it's boring. Like, let's make some really cool creative courses, incorporate butter pads, tranny hits, unique features. So it brings the progression down, but escalates the creativity and like the other side of snowboarding, which is like so enjoyable to watch.
I will say one thing though, especially watching the Olympics this year, was the first time that I had that real moment. And anyone that watched, this is Winter the Winter Olympics, they are mimicking X Games. And even the way they're going with skateboarding now in the Summer Olympics and this build up. So what I'm saying is if we at X Games can start trying to create something like that, the Olympics will change the way that they look at it too. It's not going to happen overnight, but it's like if you are to create something like they create at Peace Park with Danny, and you're able to create this, all right, like you've got whatever it is, but there's one jump where you have to do a straight arrow. There's one jump you have to spin under a 360, and that's a judged moment. If that starts happening, if we start doing that at X Games, Olympics will follow that trend because literally. And it's crazy because I know there's times when like we're told not to reference the Olympics at X Games, but at the end of the day, I think it's fucking stupid. I think that I really do because if you watch the Olympics this year, all they did was reference X Games.
Of course,
no, but they're referencing X Games.
Well, they're looking at the best events in snow to see what to do and how to.
It's a compliment. It's a compliment to have Olympics reference you and talk to you because it means what they're doing is right. So the X Games should verify the Olympic. Anyway,
I don't know. I think until the X Games brings back modified shoveling, it'll never be the X Games.
Danny had this idea that
I don't modified what
shovel racing, downhill mountain biking on snow,
up the freaking
dirt biking uphill
on the big air jump. Remember with the studded tires?
And then like we could have our own team. And so Danny had this idea. This is a few years ago. Of X Games being like the Olympics and being like 2 weeks long and then bringing every event that's ever been at the X Games back and doing it like a 2-week
like
fiesta.
A reunion.
Yeah, well then like having like the skydiving and the freaking
I would
and
love
the luging on the street.
Maybe even bring back border
ice
cross.
climbing.
See?
Get Sean Palmer in the house.
Hello.
Oh, that's great. No, X Games is definitely the backbone of like snowboarding.
Yeah.
And that's why like back in the day, I had no care about the Olympics until of course it came. But like I was completely content with just riding POW and riding park at the events that mattered to me.
Yeah.
And maybe it'll change because I think the Olympics is actually like ruining the sport. Like things are just
Well, you
so
at one point called me
stale.
and told me you didn't want to go.
I definitely didn't want to go. And I think that's why I wasn't able to do good there.
I think you were at the airplane hangar maybe. She's like, I don't know if I want to go. And I'm like, I think you should just get on the plane.
I wasted so much energy. I'm, I guess, naturally a little indecisive, and I did. I wasted a lot of energy contemplating like what was the best choice instead of just like having my head in the game. But it wasn't just the Olympics. It was all the like craziness that was going on in China at that time. And I felt like no one was sticking up for like humanity and like human rights and like what's actually going on. And to me, I think I've always been a sensitive person where like things matter to me. And when we all just turn a blind eye and act like everything's okay, it's like really confusing for like my mind and spirit. I'm like, what? Like, I knew what was right, but I still like talking to my management, agency, and sponsors. I just had too much on the line.
Yeah.
I think I probably would have had to pay back a bunch of Olympic sponsors, which I do like making money too. So you gotta kind of
There's a caveat there, right?
Play your cards right.
Yeah.
It's a short. No, I mean I've had thankfully a long-lived sport, but you know, not everyone gets to compete for 15 years on the pro tour.
Well, it's kind of crazy, right? Like, let's have a little quick conversation here about legacy of female snowboarding. And I used to love Shannon Dunn, but Shannon Dunn was never really, she was more of the pipe competitor kind of style, right? It was Tara Takitis that would have been before you. Did you ever compete against her at the X Games? So it was a transition, right?
I remember I had Tara Takitis' poster on my wall
So
growing
did I.
up, and I just like
Dingo still has
loved
it in
her.
his bedroom.
She was kind of like the main girl, but also like Shannon Dunn. But Shannon was also more like a pro skater too, right?
Yeah.
And she was a little bit older than Tara. Same with Barrett Christie. Like I really admired Barrett Christie and Meg Spitschke, but they were like one generation before.
Well, Barrett was like, I just remember Barrett as a kid doing the
Yep.
backflips in the bikini.
No,
Was
no,
she?
you guys,
No, that was Megan
Morgan
or
LaFawn.
Morgan.
Oh, that wasn't Barrett?
And then Cara Beth Burnside.
Yeah,
Barrett
Pro
never
skater,
did
Barrett was a
badass.
skater.
My
yeah.
bad. Sorry, Barrett.
Barrett probably maybe had a little bikini shop at one point.
Yeah, wasn't there a
Shop.
moment in time where everybody was doing backflips at X Games in bikinis?
I think it was actually
sports
Morgan who
bras.
did it in a lace bra.
It was hot. It was really hot.
I remember Hannah
women
Tina. I remember
are-
Hannah Tina did that at the Winter X Games at nighttime, and it looked a little
And
stupid.
No, she ate shit and got ice burn.
Ooh.
I remember that. At the top, dropping in, like took her shirt off, put her bib back in, dropped in.
Is
Boom. I was like,
there Tahoe beef between you two?
Tahoe beef? No.
You guys are cool.
I don't have any beef in my life. I'm vegetarian. I'm just kidding. I have a little grass-fed meat, you know.
They're on different sides of the lake.
No, they're not.
No, she's in Myers.
Okay.
No, yeah, no beef, just no real like not really a lot in common.
Right.
We hung for a couple years and then kind of just drifted apart.
Yeah, that'll
I think
happen.
she's doing good though. I don't know exactly what
Sure, she's doing good.
Oh, what else? We got some good shit to talk about. I love it.
Well, how was
Memory lane?
how was New Zealand?
New Zealand was beautiful.
Yeah.
Gosh, I love that place.
Did you get some good snow?
No, it kind of like warmed up. We were gonna try to do a little heliboarding, ride some POW. I'm more into POW right now. I just want a free ride. But it was good. It was fun to be there and ride and connect with old friends. But the snow kind of went to shit, and we got to ride the resort a bit, do some road trips, drink some really good coffee.
Good coffee.
Yeah.
How was Jossie's event?
Fucking didn't make it. I'm sorry, but it was really sick. It was just during my birthday, and I had gone earlier, and then I don't know. I didn't really feel like competing. I wanted to take a little time off.
But wasn't it
this
just like
last
a
bit.
fun thing? It was actually a competition.
It was a contest.
Is that where Zoe did the?
Switchback 12.
Yeah, that's gnarly. Did you see
So
that?
insane.
I didn't, but I saw Dusty's switchback double rodeo 10.
I love Dusty.
Yeah.
That was a hammer.
Dusty's a G.
Just he is so good at snowboarding.
Yeah.
He's so nonchalant.
Like we were running this thing in Threadbow when we were there, where I'd sit on the knuckle and literally snowboard like the landing, and he would land like on me and just not even be like he was landing like this far away from me, like not
So
even phased.
And then
On a
you're telling
phone
people,
call?
oh, I'm just riding with Dusty, just dropping in on the knuckle as he's landing jump. That was sick, Dusty. I'm going to butter the next one.
Oh my gosh.
I actually was, we were just in South Bay and they were doing a morning shoot and Dusty was hitting the jump doing sick stuff. I don't know. Anyways, and then I ended up hitting the rail next to the jump and timed it like
I
just
saw
perfect.
it. Your front board?
I haven't seen the photo. Have you seen it?
No, I saw the clip though.
Oh yeah. So
What did
I'm
you
really
do?
excited. Basically, we were riding together, just like you and Dusty, except
Yeah.
he was hitting the jump and I was just riding a rail next to it.
Oh, I love that.
So that was my Dusty moment of this trip.
That's amazing.
Yeah, a lot of stories when we were kids. I don't think we need to really like. I don't know. Were we bad influences on you?
No.
I feel like you're. I think you
I
were
was
kind
a
of
bad
just. I think
influence.
you were a bad influence on yourself.
Well, I'm sure we helped. We paved the way. We
Well,
made
snowboarding
a
was
lot of things look normal
fun
and
then.
fun, and it was fun. And it was like, I mean,
It's
that's
just
why we
changed
do
a
it.
lot.
It's, a lot of people get into it now and are pushed into it to achieve
Well, that's
these
it.
medals, and that comes a lot less natural than when you get into something. And even for me, like when I started competing, the Olympics wasn't an option. And then I was doing really good and it became an option, which was great because then I had a lot of fun, after and during. And I think that's an important thing, right? Where
Well, snowboarding changed a lot.
Snowboarding used to be so much cooler. Like, that's the thing. It was just like, it's been crazy to see it change so much in these last, I don't know, however many, 20 years.
And we're not saying snowboarding's not cool, Brittany, because
Hey, I think snowboarding's cool, but I can relate, working with UFC from the very beginning when it was just like a smaller, UFC was like this new thing. We're like, oh, sick. And then now it's become this more of a corporate, it's a lot bigger.
Yeah.
And so it does change the dynamic of
Yeah.
anything. So I think that same with snowboarding is probably, I can imagine it was a similar feeling of when it was like a smaller family niche and then now it's just so big.
because that's even where I was trying to go with that like crossover from Terra. I don't know how it popped up, but it popped up on my feed, Stand and Deliver. So then I went and watched it. I was like, oh, how could I watch that? And literally it's just on YouTube. You can just Google Stand and Deliver and the movie pops up and that reminds and the whole movie's there. But it's just anyway, but the crossover was Terra used to be the girl that had those like main video parts. What was the other girl's
Big
name?
back rodeos.
She
Tara was the idol. And so back to what you were saying, I did compete with her on her way out.
Yep.
Like, I think when I was 15, I did my first slopestyle event at X Games.
Yep.
And I think that was when she was probably around my age now, like in her early 30s. And she was kind of like not riding as strong as she was at the time. And then she went into border cross for a little bit. And I would say go into border cross in the beginning. Transition.
I don't know about that. I
hard to
think
go-
we still need some strong border crossers out there.
We
Yeah,
got Lindsay
you do.
Jacobellis.
But one thing I will
yeah.
say, I just saw her. It was cool. I was like, whoa.
In South Bay?
Yeah, I didn't.
Didn't she
I was
finally
too
just win an
nervous.
Olympics?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got fucking
Six-
good on her.
16 years.
No.
Okay, so
It was.
Italy, 2006.
Okay, I was
She
thinking
said-
20,
This girl,
2000.
Lindsay
Called it
Jacobellis, for everyone listening that
16.
doesn't know who she is, we all grew, or me and Dan, I think, grew up snowboarding with her or traveling with her. She's more,
No.
she's my
Yeah,
age.
wasn't she a
Yeah,
East
she's
Coaster?
my-
She was on the 2006 team.
Yeah,
I think
but
she
she was
went to what was it, Okemo?
but
Or no, she was Stratton Mountain.
No, she was Stratton Mountain. Come on.
Okay.
She was the one that famously in 2006 was built up, had all the pressure. The media was like, this girl's going to win the Olympics for border cross. Shoo in. Nobody should have ever beaten her. They were exactly right. But she gets to the finish line,
No,
decides
she
to
was
do,
she was a mile ahead.
she tries to do a method to
Okay,
like
what's the-
show off.
Oh, okay.
And she
just
crashes
the crap.
before the finish line and then literally gets up and hobbles, but then ends up coming second or third, but literally like blew it and then never got back to the Olympic podium until last year. And she finally won her gold medal 16 years later. But like she like literally went into like depression, like mode, like the whole,
was
she,
gnarly.
she was built up to be this
Decision.
champion and then got there and had a bit of a boo-boo.
That
was-
was brutal. She was known as that for a long time, but she's so incredible.
Yeah.
and
Good thing that was
so
before
talented.
memes though.
Oh,
If
wow.
she's
And
had a been,
social
memes had been around,
Like,
she
I mean,
would've got
just think how
smoked.
many times people see her snowboarding and they're like, do a method. Like, it's kind of like the skateboarder, like, bust a kickflip.
Oh, that's a heartache.
But one thing I will say, before we finish up on Terra Takitis, was you're one of the few riders that has put the backside rodeo in your run and landed in that way. And I'm sure every time she's seen it, that's probably been her favorite trick of like
Aw.
every slope
Yeah, you
run.
do. You make it look good.
You make it
she
look
inspired
really
me
good.
to do it. So shout out to Tara. On
That's
that one.
awesome. That's awesome.
rodeos.
This
are
went
dope.
pretty quick.
Yeah, we should probably do a part 2 soon.
We're gonna have to do part 2.
Oh,
this
keep
went
it
like
going.
really quick. Danny has his like 10 fire questions at the end. I'm sure we'll babble a little bit more. You answer these any way you want, Jamie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so Jamie, what do you miss about Tahoe while living in Whistler?
Family.
What is your favorite Canadian slang you've picked up?
Eh?
Nice. Are you into Bloody Marys or Bloody Caesars?
Caesars for sure.
She's Canadian.
That's when they
her
put
coach
clam.
is Canadian. Her first coach was
Who?
Yeah, who?
the wax tech.
No,
No,
he's not.
he's not. He's from Boston, eh? He's like, well, which is almost another country in itself.
Yeah, he is.
Most legendary Tahoe rippers growing up.
Oh, well, Palmer. He was like he was the cat's ass back in the day.
He
He,
really
had all
is.
the Cadillacs and the boats on the lake. I was like, Palmer. He gave me my first helmet for X Games. I thought that was pretty cool.
That's legendary.
But he was trouble. He kind of inspired me not to completely go down that path because the industry can be slippery. It's easy to get on the party wagon and not get off. Gotta find that balance of like, back in the day, if you weren't partying at the bar the night before finals, like you were definitely going to get scored less.
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
And nowadays, like nobody even parties after the contest.
I know. And
I
if you
don't
did
get
good, you'd have to put 10% of your winnings down at
And
the bar.
actually
Yeah.
put it
The
down.
10%
And now,
was
if
a
you
game.
say that to riders, they're like, "What?"
They're
and I'm
like,
like, "You owe me like 2 drinks."
you owe me like 10 drinks.
And they're like,
I like
"No,
how
I
Danny's
don't."
walking around the bar trying to shuffle kids out for
Yeah,
drinks.
I'm like,
They're
"Hey,
like, I don't drink.
yeah,
Yeah, times have changed.
They're paying their coaches that 10%.
that's right." What music is jamming in your headphones at X Games?
Usually rap, hip hop and rap.
Hip hop and rap. I rode to the game quite a bit. That helped me.
That's cool.
What did I run this year? I was kind of on like the Gunna album. I just like tracks that like have good beats. And sometimes I'll like get into like OCD mode and just like listen to the same song all day. I like land a good trick with it or like feel that rhythm.
That's what I did to it, but in my car.
I do that. He does.
Road
I know.
tripping, it's like 19 times later. You're like, one more.
I know you're a healthy eater, so what is your favorite food to replenish your energy? What secret superfoods are you on?
Gosh. Honestly, nothing like crazy, but just whole food. In the winter, I feel like I really like to do soups, like maybe a good chicken soup with veggies and like top it with avocado and lime and cilantro, kind of like a little Mexican style. Yeah.
Like that.
I think that is all I have for you right now.
Any last questions, Brittany?
I mean, I think that you're fascinating, that story, and I, like hats off to being a feminine energy in a sport that was, male dominant for a long time. And I think what I want to know is like, what kind of always kept you going forward? So when you have these losses or when you have this energy or this pressure and the media, and especially coming out when Instagram started, that's like the first time, even for me as well, it's like when we're seeing like anybody can say whatever they want. And that was always like, it's scary. So what kind of always progressed you to go further and keep going? Was there anything specific or?
Oh, good question. Thank you. I think there were definitely times where I didn't want to learn new tricks and I was afraid of like the risk and crashing and everything that comes with it. I remember at X Games a few years ago learning a front 10. I crashed so hard in finals and I pretty much broke one of my teeth and like bloody nose, black eye, crying on national TV. And I was like, I hate this. Like, I'm so done.
Yeah.
And I kind of hid out for a couple of weeks or however long it took. But something inside of me was like, you know what? Like, things happen. You have to just like carry on. You can't just like walk away. And you have to honor yourself and like you're feminine and like re-nurture. But I think for me, I have like a fire inside where I just
Persevere.
keep going. Yeah, persevere. If you fall off the horse, get back on and keep going.
I love that.
Yeah.
Cool.
You're good, Dan?
All right, I had one more question that I forgot was on my card. So, like you said
That I
earlier,
forgot
It
was
was
on my card.
that I just looked at.
you said you got to represent some of, obviously the best sponsors and companies in the world, and besides Monster. What is one of your dream sponsors that you could have that you haven't yet?
Oh, wow.
That should have been the fire round question.
That's a big one. I think I don't know, maybe a really baller car company, like Mercedes or.
Let's get her a G-Wagon.
Yeah,
Get
I
her a
want a
G-Wagon.
G-Wagon. G-Wagon, contact Mercedes Benz.
We'll get that for you when you win your first Olympic gold medal in half pipe.
Hey, Italy's around the corner. Who knows what I'm capable of?
That's right.
All right. Well, we love you here at Monster Energy. I love you. We love you. You're the best, Jamie. Thank you for bringing us. Luna, you were so good wherever you are.
She's over here.
You didn't cause any
Oh,
problems.
she's chilling.
I can't hear my mic. Did she chew the wire?
Luna. Luna, come say hi. Thank you guys so much, though, for having me. And thank you, Monster, for being such a great partner for, over a decade. I think I'd be here without your guys' support. So shout out. And I love the show. Thanks for having me and being patient with me. And so nice to meet you.
You too. Thank you.
Come back sometime if you ever want me.
Yeah, you're back whenever you want. That's a wrap.
Unleashed with the Dingo and Danny. Fueled by Monster Energy.